Remember, you are stronger than you think. Don't believe me? We're about to prove it. Welcome back. This is Jen Lee, creator and host of I Need Blue podcast. Welcome to Season 3. This is a place where survivors of life events can feel they belong, are loved, understood, and my favorite, empowered. Sharing your story can become a part of your healing journey. I Need Blue is here to provide you the opportunity. Please note, I Need Blue does contain sensitive topics which could be triggering. Please seek help if needed, and remember, you always come first. I would like to thank Shar Good for composing and performing the introduction music. To find additional information about Shar Good, you can visit my website, www.ineedblue.net. There, you will find ways to contact me. You will find all of my podcast episodes as well as valuable resources. I Need Blue podcast is also found on all of your favorite podcast platforms. As you listen, if the message moves you, share the story with friends and family. The more we share, the more we learn, the more we can help. I have 3 special guests today: Sean, his daughter Abigail, and son Perry. 5 years ago, Sean went from being a very active triathlete to surviving a car accident, which ultimately left him paralyzed from the chest down. I can't imagine how drastically that can change one's life. Sean is here to share his story of what his life was like prior to the accident, what it was like waking up and hearing the news that he was now quadriplegic. Aside from the physical trauma, Sean and his children are here to share the initial emotional and mental struggle faced by their family. I can't wait for Sean to share the positive impact his mom had on his fierce fight to survive and turn this tragedy into a positive. You will truly be inspired by their message today. Sean, Abigail, and Perry, welcome to the I Need Blue podcast.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you all for being here. This is so special. I really appreciate it.
Well, happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem.
So, Sean, let's start with you. You and I had some prior conversation, and I know on this particular evening, some friends had called and were like, hey, let's go out. And like many of us at times, we were like, oh, I really don't feel like going out. But at the end of the day, you decided to go and join them. Can you share with us what happened?
Sure. So, like you said, I wasn't planning on going out that night. The funny thing is I had just gone to the nature store and I had bought like a whole bunch of supplements and things like that because I was getting ready to start my training because I was going to do a full Ironman this year coming up. So I had that stuff in my car and everything. And it's like, okay, this is my last hurrah out, for the next 7 months or however it takes to get prepared for a race.
Can you explain what that Ironman is to me? Because I am not that athletic at all.
Okay, so an Ironman is it's 140 miles total.
Oh.
Pretty much you swim 2 miles, you bike, 112 miles, and then you run a marathon at the end. That's 21.6 miles. I believe it was 2 years ago, guys. I had done a half Ironman. And that's half the distance of what all of that, what I just said was. So it was 70 miles instead of 140 miles. And so I was like, okay, yeah, this is it, and I kind of, be honest, I kind of like used doing triathlons as my, I guess you could say, self-medication. It kept my sanity, and it kept everything in place.
Yeah. It's a healthy way though to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I decided to try to do a healthy way of taking care of that. But like you said, I wasn't planning on going out, and decided to go out. We went out, everything was going great. And even with that said, I said, you know what? I'm not going to drink that much tonight. I don't want to overdo it or anything like that. So on my way coming back, I actually, when the accident happened, I went from going on the eastbound lane to the westbound lane. The car flips and I don't remember anything. I mean, my next memory was going from, I think I said, oh crap, OS, to waking up and there's this bright light over me and a nurse. I was like, wow, I didn't know. I'm in the hospital. I'm like, everybody sees the movies and stuff like that. And, they think, oh, you come, it is not like that when it's actually happening to you. And, I remember the very first thing the nurse had asked me was, did I have a DNR? I do not resuscitate. And I said no, but I do want to be on that because at that point in time, I didn't want to have to put the burden of me on my family. So pretty much I was thinking a lot about myself. So I was like, my thing was I had plenty insurance. I knew that, that my family would be able to go on with the insurance and the assets that we did have. And that, for the most part, I lived a pretty good life. So, I was like, hey, this is it. This is the way how he's writing me off. That's what I was thinking. This is my ticket and I'm about to hop off this train.
So did you know at this point then that you were paralyzed from the chest down?
After speaking to the nurse and then the doctor came in and the doctor was like, can you feel this? And he was touching my legs. And I was like, no. So I knew that my legs weren't working and I knew that my arms weren't working at that point in time because I couldn't move. Pretty much I was on my back and I couldn't move anything. I was on a ventilator, so I couldn't talk. So everything was, head nods and things like that. And yeah, it was a very traumatic situation there.
Was there anxiety? Like as you started to realize you couldn't move your limbs were inside, I have to imagine that would make me nervous. Like I would start freaking out like, oh, this is not normal. What happened?
I just knew that this was really bad would just happen and that dead serious. I was just pull the plug. I'm done. I mean, cause I'm a person that's used to being able to take care of myself and take care of everybody else and, pretty much be self-sufficient. And now you're trying to tell me that I'm going to have to live the rest of my life being dependent on other people. And that, for me, that's like, a nail in the heart.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do I go from here? And that's the reason why I was like, yeah, DNR me, but anyway, I'm not sure, when it comes down to the timeline, I'm not sure how many hours, how many days I was just there. I don't even know if the sun was up or the sun was down. People started finally coming in and seeing me. And, I had a lot of, I have a good friend that were golf partners and he came and he saw me every day while I was in the hospital. Little did I know that a couple of, once I got out of the hospital and we connected again, he was like, your accident changed a lot in my life also. Everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely. I would like to ask Perry and Abby, the moment they found out that you had been in the car accident and come to the hospital to see you, because I know for them this had to have changed their life too. I would love to know what that was like for you.
It literally happened the day that I was traveling back from a mission trip to St. Croix. They didn't tell me what happened. So when I finally got back home, my brother called me and he was like, hey, I'm picking you up. He picks me up from my school and we end up going to the hospital. When we pulled into the hospital, I'm like, yo, Chris, what we doing? He was like, that was in a serious accident. And, you know, I need you to be prepared for like the state that he's in right now. It's not good. The news was just like fresh to me. So I was just like, yeah, I was in an accident. I was, oh, we got to go see him. Like, let's go. So next thing he goes, he's like, Perry, he's like, I need you to understand the severity of like the situation. He's really not in good state. But I was still just like, let's just go. So we finally just go up into the hospital. And then I finally went into the hospital room where I saw him. And honestly, I was just struck by shock because I didn't know what I was going to see when I walked into that room. He was just in the hospital bed. He was completely bandaged up all the way. He had the tube in his mouth, you know, so he could breathe and that kind of stuff. All I could really see of his body was literally a slit of his eye because the bandages around his head wrapped all around his head except like his one little eye. I could still barely recognize his eye because his face was just so swollen too. I just was like talking to him. I was like, hey, you're going to be okay. Don't worry about us. We're going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. Trying to stay strong for him. After I finally left the room, that's when like all the emotions just kind of hit at once. I just walked down like the hospital hall and just grabbed the wall, started, you know, crying on the wall and let all my feelings out right there. Seeing my father, who I've always seen as like, you know, an indestructible being, finally be vulnerable just opened up my life and was like, hey, sometimes you just gotta slow down. You just gotta just be careful, you know? I still love him. Still love him. I'm so proud of where you came.
And I have to tell the audience because I don't do video, but I'm watching and I'm trying not to cry myself, but I'm watching your dad and Abby, like tears are coming down, and it's such a, like, I can't imagine what that moment was like for you, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Were you mad? Were you like sad or?
It was weird because, like I said, I went from the mission trip and I had such a fun time on the mission trip. Like, I was like, first, I had family in St. Croix too. So, like, I knew the area. So, it was like I was helping people I knew, that kind of stuff. I had a good trip with my friends and that kind of stuff. So, I went from like emotional high to like the lowest of lows in like a split second. So, I was like just mad, yes, because it happened, but at the same time, I was just like really scared because I was just like, don't tell me I'm going to lose my dad in my senior year right now. Really, like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right. So you were a senior in high school during
Yeah.
this time. Okay. Thank you. And Abby?
Yeah, Perry, when you were talking, honestly, like I remember when you came out of Dad's room and you were like distraught.
Yeah.
You started banging on the walls, you were crying.
Yeah.
Honestly, I forgot about that up until you just said it again. Mine was different than yours because Chris woke me up out of my sleep at like 5 a.m. and he just said, are you working today? And I'm like, of course I'm working. It's Saturday, you know? And at the time I was working at Panera. He just told me, he's like, you need to call them and tell them that you're not coming into work today. And I was just like, well, what are you talking about? Like, why am I not going into work today? And that's when he told me, he's like, Dad's been in an accident. At this time, they did not know if he was going to make it. So that's what he told me. He's like, Dad's been in a really bad car accident. They don't know if he's going to make it. We need to get to the hospital right now. So that's when me and Chris, we drove over to Holmes and they took us up to the surgical wing. And Mom and Diti were both sitting there waiting for us. And I think Grandma Sonia was there too, and Grandpa Frankie. And I remember they told us, we're going to let you guys see him one more time because they didn't know if he was going to wake up from surgery. I remember they brought him out into the surgical waiting area. And Dad, you know I love Grey's Anatomy, but no medical show could have prepared me for seeing what you looked like because you were completely swollen and just the scratches and bandages all over your body. It's like I couldn't even recognize you. And they let you stop for a couple minutes. I remember I held your hand and told you everything was going to be all right. And after a couple minutes, they took you away to surgery. And we had to sit there and wait. And it was probably the scariest time of my life because they just kept saying to us, we don't know if he's going to make it. And that's not something you want to hear from the doctors working on your dad, you know? And then eventually they took you out of surgery, and they moved us all to the ICU waiting area. And they just told us, like, now we just sit and wait.
How long was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was a week and a half because they were trying to get my lungs to not keep filling up. They kept giving me tracheotomies, I guess you call it, to try to get the fluid out. But once they're able to get the fluid out of my chest, that's when they sent me to Shepherd.
And you were not ejected from the vehicle, correct?
No, I wasn't ejected. Well, at least I don't remember being ejected. I had my seatbelt on.
I know they told us that the paramedics thought you were dead when they got there. Like, they didn't even think you were alive.
Oh my gosh. So can I ask you this question, Perry, as a parent myself? I know you said the DNR, you just felt like at this point you had gone from such an independent, the caretaker role, right, of the family and the kids to all of a sudden feeling like you were going to be this inconvenience. When you thought about your kids during that time, was that how you felt too? Was it, I don't want them to take care of me? Or was it, I need to be there so I can see my kids graduate college and get married, things like that?
No, it was definitely, I don't want my kids to I didn't want to be a burden on the family. When I finally saw my mom in the hospital and she was looking at me and stuff, and that's when it all hit. It was like, I'm still here. There's a reason why I'm still here. And I can't have my mom go through having to lose a son. And that's when I started to fight. Because before that, there was no fighting.
Did your mom say anything, or was it just her presence?
It was just her presence. I mean, she didn't say much. When I looked at her face, you know, what her face looked like, it was just like, I can't put her through this. And then after that, it was a steady fight to not only not letting my mom not having to go through this, but also being able to be here for my family. Because it went from, okay, like I said, kind of selfish, I'm done, to, oh wow, there's still a lot more to live for. And like Perry said, you know, his memory would have been his senior year, that was the year that he lost his dad. Here we are, almost 5 years later. He's graduated from college. I've seen him. My daughter, she's in college. I would have missed all of this. But also with that said, I mean, you know, I go back to things happen for a reason. And one of the things when I was in rehab, one of the things I've always kept telling myself was, there's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why I'm alive. So with that said, you just move forward and you do the best you can. Maybe the reason why you're talking to this person over here is because this is the message that they need to hear.
And Perry and Abigail, what was it like when you had that moment of realization that Dad's going to live?
Oh man, that was a crazy time. that drive up to Atlanta was crazy.
Yeah.
That drive up to Atlanta was crazy. Abby was supposed to stay up with me. Clocks out at probably 12 or 11ish, and we were praying the rest of the ride.
Hey, you got those good driving genes like that from me. All of those trips that we took.
Hope so.
Yeah, I think when you woke up in the hospital, like, it was such a relief. All the doctors just kept saying was, we don't know. That was like their catchphrase or something. Like, that's all that they kept saying is, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know his deficits. We don't know if he's going to wake up. We don't know if he does wake up, if he's going to be paralyzed or not. I think when you finally woke up, I felt so much relief, because I think the first time I went to go see you, you still hadn't woken up. When I was there, I sang to you, "You Are My Sunshine." That's another reason why I got that tattoo on my leg. Like that song just means so much to me, you know? So
Yeah, I know it does.
So I sang that song and I prayed for you because I was very angry with what was happening, you know, because you were my dad and I was your little girl and I didn't want to go without you.
I know. And you know what? I still have, I don't know if you know this, but you wrote me a letter when you were younger. And you remember that letter.
Yeah, I remember.
And I still have that letter. And I thought about that letter and it's like, wow, I almost let her down.
You're still here.
Well, I'm still here. I'm still fighting, still doing a good fight for you guys. And I love you guys. I mean,
I love you too.
I love you too.
When I first saw you when we went up to Shepherd's in Atlanta, I was just so happy to see you. Because Mom was telling me that you were doing good up there. I knew you wanted to get out of that hospital in Florida. I knew that. So, I knew you wanted to get out of there.
I just wanted to get out of bed.
Once we finally were able to go up there and see you, the first thing you said to me when you saw me was, "Hey, I'm sorry I crashed your car," because we always joked about that being your car, or you're gonna hand that down to me. And then the moment you said that, I just kind of chuckled. I was like, I don't even care about the car. I'm just happy I still have you.
Yeah.
It just makes me happy that today you're still fighting every day to just live, because I know it's hard being that person who went from that independent to now depending on somebody. And the fact that you have to fight that fight every day, and the fact that you're kicking its butt right now, I'm so proud of you, Dad.
Thank you. But you guys are my motivation.
I have to tell you, being the outsider, just observing all this, if I had to put two words together, I would say love and laughter have pulled you through this tough time. The love is so evident, and you've used laughter and kind of little jokes about driving and whatnot to kind of get you over the humps of the tough times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of my most favorite, there are things that you always want to do in life, right? And I say, hey, I always wanted to fly in a helicopter. Well, got that. I always wanted to fly in a private jet. Well, got that too. So, I was able to do a lot of things. So be careful what you wish for, because it may not come out the way how you wanted it to happen.
Let me ask you this, because sometimes, we look back on life and a lot of times we're like, oh my gosh, why did that happen to me? Why did I go through that? And my goal in life is always find the positive behind it. So to each of you, now looking back through this whole experience, what have you taken away positive?
I think positively, my dad really is a motivation. My dad has turned our entire house into a gym. And if my dad can work full time and still have the time to do therapy every single day, there's no reason why I can't do the things that I need to do.
Yeah, I would say similar words like that. Seeing him go through his rehabilitation, accepting the fact of reality, it's just been strong to see him do, and it's been motivating, and it's motivated me throughout my entire college career. And now that I'm finally out of it, I know we always joke about it, saying I was like, yo, man, I didn't think I was going to be able to ever do it. And you were always you can do it, just keep your head down and you'll get through it. And that's how I just always felt that's how you felt about the accident. You just kept your head down, just got through it.
Yeah, I mean, here's another one of my jokes. I had a choice. We all saw Forrest Gump. I could either be Lieutenant Dan or be positive. One of the two. And I didn't want to be Lieutenant Dan. So I just said, okay, let's take the positive out of all of this. And truthfully, I mean, even this morning was a perfect example. Everybody knows I have OCD and that I like things being on time and stuff like that. Well, I was running late all this morning, but I can remember that back in the day, if I was running late like that, I'd be all upset and need to do this, you need to do that. And pretty much when I was going through it, I was just saying, thank you, because I can do this. Even though I'm on a time crunch, I'm trying to move these files over before I have this meeting. I thank God that I'm able to do it. And that's it right there. That's what it all comes down to. You just have to, you have to have grace and be thankful.
Sean, I want to take a minute to just say how inspiring your story is and how encouraging it is to hear your family, your children come together and be there for you every step of the way. If you are enjoying this episode and you like to hear other stories similar to this, there is a podcast that I listen to. It's called What Was That Like? The host is Scott Johnson. I want to share with you a quick minute clip.
What Was That Like? Is a true story podcast like you've never heard before. These are clips from a few past episodes.
There is a man standing in front of me in my bedroom.
My friend has been shot.
I'm literally inside the river, and I'm inside my car.
He had told me multiple times that he was going to set himself on fire.
If you say my name or try to look at me, I'm going to kill you.
And he was just sobbing. He said, Mom, tell me you're going to be okay.
I jumped on the hood of the car, and I held on.
And I looked into the garage, and he was hanging from the rafters.
I had somebody standing on my neck.
He's better to me dead. I want him dead.
Real people in unreal situations. Find it on your favorite podcast app or at whatwasthatlike.com.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you will find What Was That Like podcast as enjoyable as I do. Now, back to Sean. Can you share with us, it's kind of a twofold question. Number one, really, what has that journey been like emotionally and mentally? And then for another family who is maybe going through what you all have gone through, what advice would you give them?
That's a great question. Emotionally, I have good days. I have bad days. But what you have to do is on those bad days, you really have to be very deliberate and keep looking at the positive things that have happened since the tragedy.
Do you write them down so you can read them?
Everybody tells me I should be writing down this story, but no, I never write them down. And matter of fact, I was talking to my sister last night, and I was telling her I was about to do this podcast today. And she's like, that's great. That's great. And she's like, you can make a lot of money in doing things like that. And my first words out of my mouth after that was, truthfully, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I like to make money. But what has been given to me right now, I would never want to monetize it. Me just being able to be in the right place at the right time and speak to the right people at the right time, that is my satisfaction with it. That's where I can smile and say, hey, this is why I'm taking this journey. This is why. And then what I would say to families that are going through things like this, you just got to support them. You got to support them. There's a reason why. Terrible things happen to great people. And that's nothing. A lot of people are like, well, I was a really good person. Why did this happen to me? Whereas, there's terrible people out there and things like this doesn't happen to them. So why me? And the reason why is because somebody thought that you were strong enough to go through this and to be able to get that message out.
Yeah, that is so true. Those are so true words. I will tell you that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Abby, what would you tell a family dealing with the same thing? Even if it's not a car accident, just our lives change quickly. They can change quickly in such a short amount of time. And for anybody that is having to deal with that transition, what are words that you would share with them?
I would say don't give up. There was lots of times that my dad could have gave up, and there was lots of times that we could have gave up on him, and we didn't. In order to get through this, to get past it, you have to have faith in it, that this happened for a reason and it's going to make us stronger in the end.
And how did you deal with your own emotional and mental questions of why did this happen to my dad? And, I imagine at some point you were like, why couldn't it have been me? Usually, people feel those types of things. How did you deal with that?
For a long time, I really didn't. The accident happened and I never really talked about it. It wasn't actually until recently when I started going to therapy that I realized that was also something traumatic that happened to me that I needed to talk about and discuss. I actually was talking to my therapist about everything that happened, and we're kind of going through it right now, actually.
Good for you to go out and get therapy. And sometimes that third party kind of helps us to dissect our emotions and figure out where to place them. Good for you. And Perry, I'm going to ask you the same two questions. What would you say to other families who are going through a transition, and how are you dealing? How did you deal and continue to deal with the emotional and mental stuff that goes along with it?
What I would say is the beginning is always going to be hard. Everybody goes through, a traumatic experience their own way. But the important thing you got to know when you do go through those experiences is just make sure you have a good support system around you, whether it's friends, family, lovers, or whatever. Just to make sure you have somebody or people around you that you are loved and that they'll take care of you. Just because we all need that in those times. That's exactly how I got through the whole process. I just relied on my friends, my family, and I would honestly say ever since the accident, my family, we've all gotten a lot closer. That's a blessing. I would say that's come from the accident. Try to find happiness in the small things.
Yep, absolutely. I love that. So you found support and find happiness in the little things. I think sometimes, especially when we're younger, we think we're invincible, like we're going to live forever. And
yeah, I was in that senior year. I was in that senior year living it up.
Let me ask Abby and Perry, since your dad, this happened, if through a car accident, did you ever deal with any fear of driving?
I didn't drive down that road for a long time afterwards. I didn't go down it. And when me and Perry go to the beach, we actually have to go over that road. And every single time we go, we're just like, this is where it happened.
I think about it too.
Well, we talk about it usually when we go over it.
I don't really have fear of driving. Me and my dad have always been drivers. But
yeah, I didn't have a fear of driving. Just going down that road, I didn't want to go down it.
Yeah.
Unless I absolutely had to.
I didn't want to go down that road, but recently I hydroplaned, and now I'm a little scared of driving the road a little bit. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, it is. In Florida, everything is flat. And so the water just stays there. I noticed that too. I moved from Seattle where it rains all the time.
Oh, right, all the time.
Yeah. It's hilly. It's hilly, and you get special tires for that. But not in Florida.
Not in Florida, no.
Have you two discovered any other triggers within this past 5 years other than it being hard to drive, down that road?
Black BMW Z4. That's what triggered. That's my trigger item.
Yes.
It's mine also.
After the accident first happened, I kept seeing Z4s.
But the good thing is that I can't find a lot of them that were exactly like yours, as in like had the convertible one had like little things to it. So like that's a little bit, it helps a little bit, but yeah, I get triggered every time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll be going down the road and I'll see a Z4 coming up, and it's like I close my eyes. I just don't want to see a Z4.
I saw Z4 literally like days afterwards and started crying. Like after it happened. And then like for the longest after the accident, I kept seeing Z4s. Like they were like haunting me. Seeing that also like is like a trigger. It's just like
I understand. Sean, tell us, what is your day-to-day routine like?
It's get up in the morning, the nurse gets me up.
Picking up them beans.
Yes. I have a nurse that comes in. She gets me out of bed, gives me a shower and stuff like that. And then we do some exercises. I do a little bit of floor exercise and things like that with her. And then I go and I do my occupational therapy. I pick up the beans, which I couldn't. 4 years ago, these little things weren't working that great, but they're coming around.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you pick up beans with your hands. That's great.
Yeah, pretty much after I'm done with that, then I start my work day, fire up the computers, and then next thing you know, I'm busy for the rest of the day. answering emails and writing code. That was the problem with this morning, is that my body wasn't primed to click on all of this stuff. And it was like, and I just kept telling myself, okay, yeah, I know it's not prime, but you know what? Be glad you could just sit here right now and get it done The rest of my day is pretty much like a regular work day, from my house. I'll take a break and I'll go outside and I'll go to my gym in the garage and I'll do some exercises and I'll come back in, do some more work. And, I pretty much do that all the way up until like 6:00.
So you have some upper body strength.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's nothing like. I mean, I went from what I call being a wet noodle to I'm starting to firm up.
And can you walk at all? Like, is there any?
I can't walk on my own, but with assistance, they have like that rehab place I go to. I do go to a rehab place once a week out in Orlando. It's called Core. Let me just put that out there. Great place. And matter of fact, this past week they had me on like an elliptical.
Oh.
So I was actually, they had me strapped into an elliptical. I did that for about 45 minutes and I was tired. I actually felt like I was at the gym doing a cardio workout. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey with this recovery thing, but I do feel like things are coming back. I do have like they call it a standing frame, and that allows me to stand up. So in the evening times, when I want to binge watch stuff, I stand. So
good for you.
As I'm watching Game of Thrones and everything else, I'm standing.
You mean as Game of Thrones watches you?
Oh yeah, truth be told, I have fallen asleep in these games. Don't ask me how you do it, but I do fall asleep in it.
That's right. Ain't nobody gonna tell.
Yeah. But at least I'm not out the chair. That's another thing. For me, it's hard for me to be in this chair all day long. So by me doing the exercise with the nurse, she gets me on the floor. I'm on the mats and things like that. That helps. That helps tremendously. Just because I'm not in the chair all day.
You're such an inspiration.
Thanks.
Looking back, what would be the biggest thing you're like, I wish I could still do that?
Swing a doggone golf club.
I knew
it. Swing a golf club.
You never know.
You never know.
Maybe one day you will be able to,
I was talking to one of my neighbors yesterday. I said, you know what? I'm okay with not being able to walk, but just give me my hands back. Because by me having my hands, that gives me a little bit more freedom and being able to be more self-sufficient. Walking, yeah, that'd be great. But you know what? Just give my hands back. And so far, God, he answered my prayers because before my hands was just allow me to sit in front of a desk and work. And, I am so, so grateful for my job that they stuck with me.
That's awesome.
Through this whole thing.
That's awesome.
They allowed me to come back, part-time. Once I was able to go back full-time, they kept me.
Mm-hmm. How is your mom?
She's doing great. Well, she's doing good, but her sister just passed away. So she's actually at a funeral today, burying her sister. But my mom, she's doing great. I mean, she's loving it because, she's got a lot of grandkids around. A lot of people like, oh, I have grandkids. My parents, they actually helped raise every one of their grandchildren. I mean, it went from them going to Germany and spending time with my brother's kids to living on Long Island and my sister living on Long Island and them helping her kids out. And then finally it was like, oh, I'm moving to Florida. So I moved to Florida. They come down to visit. And then 2 years later, they're like, oh, we need to move to Florida because it's too cold in New York. So they came down and they helped raise Perry and Abby. My mother would pick up Abby from school and stuff like that and watch the kids and stuff like that. So they were, they definitely had a active role in all of their grandchildren.
That's great.
they're having the active role in their great grandchildren also. So with my accident, I knew it was really bad when I saw my brother. My brother lives in Texas. And when I saw him, that's where, it was like, oh, this is really, really bad, because he would not be taking this trip from Texas if it wasn't really that bad.
So is there anything in particular you want the audience to know?
I think with the tragedy, for me at least, is that I've been saying this ever since, I came to grips with what was going on, is that I am at the right place at the right time right now. I am where I need to be.
Awesome. And Perry, anything for you?
I would just say, keep family close. That's all. You gotta have family.
True. And Abby?
Just that everything happens for a reason. And that this, like, if you are going through something similar to this, like, it's happening for a reason.
So I have an idea. Do we want to end this episode singing the first 2 lines of You Are My Sunshine?
Perry, do you get to
iPhone? You are my sunshine.
Sunshine, my
sunshine. You make me.
When times are great.
You'll never know, dear,
how much I
love you. So
please don't take
my
sunshine away.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I've never sang on my podcast. This is the first time. Oh, thank you. That is such a special moment. Thank you for including me on that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jen.
Thank you for having us.
I love you all. Thank you so much for being here and being my guests. And thank you for listening today. And thank you to my very special guests, Sean, Perry, and Abby. I am so honored we got to sing together. That was very special. You've made my day. This is Jen Lee with the I Need Blue podcast. You can find all of my episodes on your favorite podcast platforms, as well as my website, www.ineedblue.net. And remember, you are stronger than you think.